So I wanted to take a minute to walk you through the process of downloading student essays and then uploading content for the reflections as part of WPC 101. But before we get into Blackboard, you first need to ask yourself two questions. Mainly, where do you want to add the commentary that you're going to provide to your students? And then how you want to actually return that feedback to them. And these two questions will help you figure out whether you need to access the information using bulk download or using the needs grading area in Blackboard. And then if you're returning, depending on whether that's a printed or a paper copy, or one of the electronic forms, whether that be the rubric or the essay itself. One thing to note is that only one file can be uploaded to Blackboard for a safe assignment. So the student submits one assignment and you can push one file back to them. So you can either return an electronic rubric or an electronic copy of the essay. And so you'll want to think about that before you start, into that process. So I would say if I were teaching WPC 101, I would grade on the rubric and then push that rubric back to the students through Blackboard, so submit my commentary electronically. If you don't feel like you're very tech savvy and you're a little worried with working with a rubric and giving all the feedback electronically, then what you could do is just simply print the rubric and fill out information in terms of the point values and any notes about the essay that you would want. But don't print out those papers. That's a lot of additional material for you to be going through, and quite frankly, the students, if they're already submitting it electronically, they need to be getting comfortable with getting that feedback on the electronic version. I also want to remind everybody that you don't need to copy edit your students' work. You don't need to go in and adjust every comma, every period, every spelling error. There's actually research and evidence in composition studies that suggests that it's not really in the student's best interest to have a faculty member constantly go in and make those marks. It causes them to rely on the faculty member for those copy edits, and when a majority of the marks are they're grammar comment based, it makes the students think that there's nothing wrong with the content, or they don't even think that the content might have errors. They simply focus on trying to be grammatically correct. And I don't really think that's what we want to suggest to the students, especially knowing where they need to go in the next 3 or 4 years. It's really going to be about the content, and the grammar is just going to be a basic expectation. It's not going to be the bulk of the grading. So if you do have a student with a significant grammar issue in their work, the best thing to do is to tell them to go to a writing center and get individualized attention from someone who's trained in giving that kind of feedback. Really what we want to push the students to do is, if they have a need for some sort of academic support, they need to go to centers. They don't simply need to rely on faculty. The tutoring centers have a much wider schedule and range of availability than you could ever have, and that sort of assistance is going to follow the student through their 4 years. Though you may be a part of their life for the next 4 years, you are not going to be in a facilitator role for them more than these 15 weeks. So let's get them where they need to go, as opposed to having them, sort of rely on us for all of that, that grammar and that copy editing. So let's go into Blackboard. The first thing that I would do is to make sure that you have a copy of the rubric in the Excel form. So you can click on the Go to the WPC 101 Resources folder in Google Drive, and all of the rubrics for the semester are going to be in this @ rubrics folder. If you'll click in, you'll see the reflection rubric pops up here, and then you can choose to download it, which is what I would do, and that's going to open up in Excel. I don't have Excel on this computer, so I'm not going to go in and do that for you, but very simply, you can open it up. You can choose to print it from there if you want. You can also choose to enter in numeric values, and it's set up so it'll auto-calculate a total out of 50, and then you can just save that rubric, perhaps using the student's last name. One thing I will suggest, though, is if you're going to push that rubric back to Blackboard without keeping your own electronic copy, you want to make sure it's a PDF so the student can't go in and change your point values and then send you a copy of that rubric and say, you only gave me 35 points, but right here it shows 45. So the PDF is going to be the suggested way for you to push material to a student, because it's secured. They can get all the content that they need, but they can't actually go in and edit that PDF. So here would be the rubric. Once you have the rubric, then you can do with it as you wish. If you wanted to do a bulk download of the files, if you just wanted to open them on your computer, or if you wanted to print them off, very easy to do that. You just go to Course Tools, SafeAssign, because this is a safe assignment. Some things may also be listed as assignments, so if you don't see it in SafeAssign, you can do Tools Assign. And then for this particular course that I'm doing, it's initial reflection for you. It'll be reflection number 1. You just click the caret and go to View Submissions, and then right here at the top, you can download all submissions. It will create those as a zipped folder, and so it's just putting that there on my desktop, and if I double click it, you can see it sort of process that, and then here on my desktop are all of the initial reflection papers ready to go. So that's very, very simple in Blackboard to get all those out at one time. However, you may just want to grade one at a time. You may not want to download them all, and there's an easy way to do that as well. You'll go to the Grade Center, Needs Grading, and this will give you a list of all of the assignments, journal entries, blog posts, anything that students have submitted and is sort of waiting in the queue for you to grade. Sometimes you'll only have one type of item, so if the reflections due first, that's probably the first thing you'll see. You can always go in from this filter and choose either all items or specific items. You can also choose an individual user if you wanted to find someone specific, or if you wanted to find late assignments or early assignments, things like that. So if you scroll down, if you want to view a student, you can either click their name, or if you want to just sort of grade them chronologically, you can click Grade All Users. I'm going to go into Joel's, and here you'll see that the safe assignment is also linking up the matching percentage for you. You can click in if you want to view that safe assignment report. I did another video about reading those safe assignment reports, so that will give you some information. 3% I'm not worried about, but I could absolutely go in and check it. You can download the file by the arrow if you want to view it that way. Joel's is a PDF, so it's very easy to open it up, close out of that. You could also, if say Joel had accidentally submitted the wrong file, I can click Clear Attempt here, and that will just delete the file, and the student has the option to go in and resubmit something else. Make sure you don't hit that unless you need to do it, but it is an option for you. So if I read Joel's essay and I loved it and I wanted to give him the full 50 points, I just click here and enter 50. I can give him any sort of typed feedback. So if I wanted to say, great work, or if I wanted to say, I'd love to see you in my office hours or something like that, you can add all of that information right here. And then if I wanted to attach a file, say I wanted to push that reflection rubric, but remember I want it as a PDF, not an Excel file, I could select it and click Open, and then click Submit, and that's going to post the score to Blackboard. It's going to total it up in that total points, and the student's going to be able to read your feedback and download any files that you've attached. Very, very simple. I'm going to click Cancel on this because I haven't gone through Joel's reflection, but it'll just bring up the next student as you click Submit, and you can just run through all 19 very easily. This is for me, is the ideal way to do it. I like to sort sometimes by when they were submitted, grading those who submitted early a little bit faster because they were being on time. You might mix it up though, sorting it by name so that you're not always grading the same students first or the same students last. Just some ways to sort of juggle it around in here. So that's a brief overview of how to go in and get those assignments and push that material back to the students. I'll give you just one last view. So I got about 30 minutes in my 10-minute guidelines for myself to show you that you can also go into the full grade center if you wanted to view the attempt for a student, if you didn't want to use the Needs Grade Center, and it pulls you right back to that same page. It'll also give you the opportunity if you want to see which students you have scored, if you wanted to see them in chronological order, and how many you still had yet to grade. So I hope that this has been helpful for you. Let me know if there's anything else. I am happily making these tutorial videos for you and getting all that information out there. Thanks again.